Today we visit the Museum of Flight in South Seattle, the largest independent non-profit air and space museum in the world. The museum features over 175 aircraft and spacecraft, tens of thousands of historical artifacts, millions of photographs, all well organized into dozens of exhibits. Some of the historic aircraft in the collection have been made available for that picture-perfect photo moment, like this mock-up made by Northrop Corporation to demonstrate a proposed version of the FA-18 Hornet back in 1979. Lockheed's SR71 Blackbird was designed as a successor to the U-2 spy plane. It holds the speed record at more than 2,100 miles per hour. This cockpit was built in 1964. These simulators let you climb to 30,000 feet, do 360-degree rolls, and immerse you in air combat in one of 9 different aircraft. Our next stop is the one-of-a-kind exhibit of Boeing history in the Red Barn. Boeing's original aircraft factory, known as the Red Barn, takes you from the early days of wooden planes up to the 50s and the first jetliners. Inside is one of the largest displays of planes and artifacts from Boeing's 100 years of operation. The simple turn-of-the-century post and beam architecture, the multiple sets of wooden windows and skylights, and the original woodworking tools bring back those heady days of early aircraft manufacture. This elaborate model shows how Boeing's operation looked in the 20s and 30s. The Red Barn is right in the center of an expanded factory footprint. A large portion of the first floor of the barn has been restored to its original appearance when it was a factory shop floor, with exhibits on Northwest aviation history and Boeing's involvement in worldwide aircraft innovations. We journey upstairs to see more Boeing factory history from the 30s through the 50s. The exhibit continues upstairs, showcasing the company's shift from creating small wooden planes to building complex multi-engine aircraft. Artifacts and photographs examine topics like the luxurious pre-war Clipper flying boat, wartime Seattle, and Boeing's round-the-clock production efforts, women in the workforce, and the 707 jetliner. Boeing's chief engineer, Claire Egtvedt, had a corner office. While the draftsmen in the outer hall had tall wooden work tables piled high with plans. The Macaw Personal Courage Wing is a two-story gallery that showcases the stories of courage, dedication, and heroism of those involved in fighter aviation in World War I and II. "28 restored World War I and II fighter planes and the Champlin Fighter Collection are on display in this 88,000 square foot gallery. We walk into an authentic Quonset hut to see a movie about World War I.
This substantially helped to turn the tide of battle and allowed the Allies to achieve a final, total victory.
As many of you know, the main coin of Egypt is called the piastre.
Oh, it's different.
This impressive collection of over 400 1/72nd scale model World War II aircraft was assembled by Dr. Logan Holtgrew, who built all of the models over a period of 7 years. Many of these models were built from commercial kits, but some of the models were scratch-built by Holtgrew himself from wood, styrene, and brass, using reference data and photographs. We journey upstairs to see some of the restored World War I fighters and more miniatures on display.
Never know. You won't be your boss.
How about a love song? Open up the atmosphere like a well-worn cloud.
Make her your own.
This reproduction of an L-24 Albatross was built in Germany. This reproduction Fokker DR-1 was one of the most famous German fighter planes of World War I. The Curtiss JN-4 Jenny is one of America's most famous airplanes. It served the U.S. Army before World War I and flew over Mexico in 1916. Just over 10,000 of them were ever built. Dr. Logan Holtgrew's collection of 1/48th scale World War I aircraft models are also on display here. The centerpiece of the collection is a 13.5-foot long model Zeppelin, complete with interior lighting. We take the Sky Bridge over to the Space Gallery and Aviation Pavilion, featuring many restored spacecraft, as well as famous jetliners. We climb aboard the FFT, a full-scale mock-up of the space shuttle without the wings. It was built at Johnson Space Center in the 1970s and was used as a test bed for upgrades to the shuttle fleet and for astronaut training.
I can try to gauge something. Oh, I'm to shoot.
Your fingers are too tiny.
Oh, I can get this. I can get this butterfly.
Numerous interactive exhibits let you experience the preparation and training that goes into a successful space mission. The Aviation Pavilion is a covered 3-acre display gallery featuring 19 rare and unique commercial and military airplanes. We start our exploration of famous aircraft with the Alpha Golf Concorde supersonic jet. Offering a luxurious and speedy trip across the Atlantic for 27 years, this plane was first flown in April of 1978 and delivered to British Airways in 1980.
Yeah. 这么帅 Chinese.
Yep. The first presidential jet plane, a specially built Boeing 707-120, is known as SAM, or Special Air Missions number 970. Delivered in 1959 to replace Eisenhower's Super Constellation, this jet is essentially a flying Oval Office with a modified interior and sophisticated communications equipment. The SAM 970 has carried Presidents Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon. Next up is the first 727 ever produced. The 727 was developed to provide economic, low-altitude, high-speed cruising capability and was produced from 1963 until 1984 for more than 100 different airlines. Growing demand for air travel during the 60s led Boeing to develop the 747, the first jumbo jet. Taller than a 6-story building, it normally has seating for up to 550 passengers, but this first ever built model served as a test plane and flew over Western Washington for the first time in 1969. The 747 had a takeoff weight of more than 300 tons, which is about the same as 10 fully loaded 18-wheel trucks. The museum also has the third Dreamliner ever built on display. This massive plane first flew on March 14, 2010, and went on to fly to 23 different countries during Boeing's Dream Tour to promote the model. Inside, we can get an idea of the expansiveness and modern design of this latest aircraft from Boeing. The interior has been partially configured as a commercial airline and a flight test aircraft, with the remaining space devoted to multimedia presentations and artifacts from the development program. The FedEx Air Cargo exhibit is an interactive experience inside a 34-foot section of a former FedEx 727 jet. Cleverly designed discovery boxes let you unravel the mystery of how your treasures, animals, food, and merchandise are moved around the world in a cargo plane. Press the big button.